Yeah.
Hi, Greg.
Trustee first. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Good. See this? This has to be placed here. Okay. If you're gonna sit there, because we may or may not talk. I told Sarah, yeah, but this, yes, I'll bring mine. And
Right.
after that, we'll see if he's truly a friend.
Let me tell you, I have a supply at home that I can dip into, so.
See, okay. That's it. Man, my face is whimpering.
Oh, did you put on?
It's terrible out there. And like Friday's supposed to be so much worse. I hope you're not working on Friday.
I'll have to see what's happening. Okay, is this a birthday card for me?
No, I'm sorry, it
It's a
came in the
Christmas.
mail, it's an invitation for you. That was me.
What was you say? I don't recognize these people. How come Fallon's not sent this? Yeah.
Is it at Heartland? Yeah.
Yeah. There, I didn't see it.
Yeah, nice picture. Words.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, chief. Oh, it's so quiet.
They said, she said he was on there. Yeah. That's one way to make a meeting go fast. Leave the heat.
Maybe I'm gonna have to melt this down and make some hot chocolate.
There you go. That sounds good. I like that. I'll bring the marshmallows. You can.
Large piles need to less control.
Oh, is that it?
That's for the little team.
That's not.
Yeah, that's for the little one. So that one's not working.
Are you coming right up? What do you got?
Wow.
But your chocolate disappeared, huh?
So they know I need sweetened up.
That's good stuff, too. Yeah. It's not messing around. Nice.
I didn't think I was gonna make it on time.
If your people had been driving as slow as they were this morning, I probably wouldn't have made it on time. But I get it, there's snow on the road. But
Somebody changed it.
Look at this. See all that?
No, the HDMI one is on. It is?
What? They're watching HBO tonight?
Oops. No, the HDMI is on there, but it's just, boo. Oh, I don't give you my broken one, I'll give you my. Zach, do you want a can?
what's that?
You want a
Thanks. Sure. I like this.
I could hear it.
I needed to be warned. I could have come equipped. I'm not prepared for this.
You know what?
Candy
It's
exchange.
your first meeting. Okay. I'm good with it. I think the ring should be 20 feet. The fire thing should be 20 feet. 8 to 10
That'd be one heck of a fire, let me tell you.
When we were in high school, we had fires at people's houses. If you got within 20 feet of it, it was a thing on fire. He knows what I'm talking about.
You're burning pallets then, probably, right? So those things burn hot.
Burning everything. When's the last year that seemed to slow?
It does, though. Whoa. That's partially why.
I think after 2 hours, we should have like a little break.
3 a.m. to 10 a.m.
I feel like
10 inches.
Bring that up.
that's right.
If it lasts more than 3
But
hours. I need to take my truck to Tuskegee. I have to have it there at 9 o'clock.
Where's
It's
it
done.
at?
Let's rock. Let's do it. But he lets me drive his truck back, and they never start on time. It's like, I'll be back here about 10.
Start out slowly your pulse a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, how thick that is. We have roll call
Greg Carnes?
here.
Jennifer Eden? Here. Herman Ferguson?
Here.
Dean Haas? Absent. Pam Moffler? Here. Chris Repetta?
Here.
Zach Tucker?
Here.
All right, looking for a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the consent agenda, the Township Board minutes from the December 16th, 2025 meeting, the Township Special Board meeting minutes from December 22nd, 2025, the Township Board meeting minutes, January 6th, 2026, Treasurer's Report, December 31st, 2025, and the Clerk's warrants and bills, January 14th, 2026.
Greg, I have a few questions before we vote.
Yes, trustee?
On the Township Board meeting notes from January 6, 2026, page 2 of the minutes shows the open burning says that we need to hear from Fenton Township Fire Chief, but that should state Heartland Deerfield Fire Chief. So that needs to be corrected.
My understanding is we were looking for response from both. We'd only had response from Robert Karendorf, the city of Fenton.
Okay.
And I was looking for comment from both Fenton Township and
So
the
we should just add Heartland Township to that
Heartland
as the
Deerfield,
correction.
which I
Deerfield.
do have.
I see a
Yes.
letter from
Yep.
there.
So, yeah, we should add Heartland Deerfield to that, to the minutes.
Also, I have just a couple questions on the treasurer's report. The general fund, which is the first line of the treasurer's report, shows investments or ICS of $7,195,111.24. To the left of that is interest of $604,729.62. That gives the row total of $7,799,840.86 at a 3.26 interest rate. Is that $604,729 under interest CKG? That's not 3.26% interest? Because 3.2% interest, 3.26 interest is $234,560.
That stands for interest checking account. That's not the interest line. The interest that it's getting is the 3.26.
So that's the cumulative interest
Yes, so
of
that,
all of the interest across
yes,
of all of the interest charges that we're gaining, adding to that. And then the interest rate of 3.26 is not in this calculation anywhere. That's just stating that
Yes.
we additionally
That is the
will
rate.
make
Yeah.
3.26% interest. Okay. Do you know how that, I mean, we've talked about that number before, the 7 million, but the taxes we're gonna get in the budget, and that's where we state how much taxes we collect from the residents, right? That's
No,
part of the budget?
General fund is not your tax money.
No, but in the budget, we have that as a line item for revenues coming in. In the budget,
And
which
only
show,
admin and are allocated
okay,
is the only two.
okay,
That's the only two line items on a tax bill that we collect for the township.
okay.
Is
So
the
we'll-
1% admin, and then our point, I think it's 874 something of our mill.
Okay, and you
That's
can
for the
help me
township.
point that out during the budget
Sure.
discussion, we don't have to worry about that now.
Okay?
And then just the PEG, are we keeping this money for PEG? I know we only had 34,000 something that we approved last meeting or the
Yes,
few meetings
that is-
ago.
Allocated only to that fund.
But what is that money? I mean, are we accumulating money for PEG at 220,000?
Not accumulating, we get it from from charter,
Okay, so
And
Charter
so-
gives us that, and we
yes.
distribute,
yes.
we're the distributor or facilitator
Exactly.
distributing those funds.
Yes. Yep, it's nothing we're collecting, they're assigning it to us. We hold it in a fund until it's dispersed. Yes.
That's all.
That's why the interest follows that account.
Okay,
With all special funds, it does the same.
all right,
Okay.
thanks, that's all I had on the report. There was one on the check register, I think for Pam, it was under the Bank 108 Tax Fund Flagstar. The first one, the CoreLogic centralized refund for $30,500. Just curious, when I see large numbers, is that do we know what that means? We're refunding a tax to somebody named CoreLogic centralized refunds?
So
Yeah,
more
they handle
coming.
all the disbursements that Jennifer has.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
They handle all the disbursements, tax disbursements that Jennifer has.
Okay, and that's the cost each year for us to handle the,
No,
No, that was a tax refund CoreLogic paid on behalf of its
I
homeowners.
gotcha.
Too much tax, they had
Okay.
already come in and.
So that's
paid
just a
themselves.
correction to the.
That's
okay,
just a return of funds that they overpaid.
Gotcha, thank you. Thanks for clearing that up.
All right, are there any other questions?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Communications, receive and place on file the Board and Planning Commission joint meeting, February 3rd, 2026. I did get approval, or I shouldn't say approval, but commitment from all the members that they would be able to attend on the February 3rd.
Do we have, what's going to happen at that meeting? I mean,
Well, we're going to put in a line item on the new business and just have a discussion on the various issues that they're working on.
Okay, I mean, do they vote on anything
No.
during the, do we vote?
No.
Do we, I've never been to one, so I have no clue as to what to expect.
No, we won't be,
We can conduct other business.
yeah, but
as
I
well,
don't, I don't see us making any decisions. It's really just an information back and forth.
Would you guys be willing to, when you put the agenda out, just put a sub-agenda in there to say, to guide, or to help me at least, if not everybody else on the board and others, that, what we're gonna do in that order? I mean, if we're taking the whole meeting where it's a joint meeting, are we taking a first half of the meeting to be a joint meeting and they get dismissed? Other things of that nature?
I will-
Whatever it looks like, that would be real helpful to know what's going on.
I will put together a little sub-agenda, if you will, so that everyone has a idea on what, some of the items,
Thank you.
but not limited to, that we will be discussing.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to receive and place on file communications 1 through 3.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. All right, public remarks. Again, you want to stick to the agenda items only, please? Yes, Scott?
Scott Dietrich, White Lake Road. Pertaining to the fire, I certainly hope we bring this to the public special meeting, but my sister-in-law lives on Round Lake in Tyrone Township, and they can have burn pits. And her lot is half the size of mine. And she's got two, one down by the lake, one up on the other side of the house. And they can burn leaves. And they live right behind the old food town up there, around, you know, where Round Lake is. She lives on the road back there, between Round Lake and Long Lake. So they are able to burn leaves on a certain day. Okay, and they can have burn pits, recreational fires. I think you're gonna run into a whole bee's nest if you try to take people's rights to burn. I think we can get around the burning of non-recreational fire. Some of these, I don't burn leaves, but I do have, I got branches all over my yard from the storm. I'll pile them up and I'll have a pretty good pile. And I do burn them, you know. And my pit's 5-6 foot across. So the size 3 foot's not enough. You put 3, 4, 18-inch logs in there to get a good bonfire for heat. On a fall night, you want more than a 3-foot ring. So, I mean, you're just asking for too much. All right. Let's see. Greg, you're still working, and I'm seeing here we're doing health insurance. I'm saying if you got health insurance, well, I don't know why we should be buying, if you're not working full-time here. I know you're working a lot of hours. But if you're still working, you got health insurance, I'd like to know why we're buying it, if we're buying it for you. Other than that, I'd like to know, and I think I know, if some of these questions, I know Chris likes to grandstand a little bit all the time. This PEG money was already discussed last meeting and just explained. Guess we have to explain it again. Barely didn't comprehend it the last meeting. So it's just too bad because it just drags the meeting on and on and on. You just got to keep making comments and ask questions that you could easily do
Be
on email.
respectful.
I'm being respectful.
Okay.
I'm just
Thank you.
pointing it out. This is stuff you guys can find out emailing, because these meetings are long, and you just like to carry on and carry on and carry on.
Be respectful, be respectful, please.
I know be respectful.
All right,
I'm concerned about being here till 11 o'clock at night.
me too.
I'd just like to make one comment. We are required, Greg, right, by law, to have these meetings in an open forum, part of the Open Meetings Act, to discuss these things, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I'm just checking.
Okay. Yes,
Jody Kelly. In regards to the code of conduct on the agenda tonight, many residents are apprehensive that the supervisor and a planning commissioner will not conform to the code. No planning commissioners or public officials should be allowed to lunge at, scare, or threaten residents at a board meeting. Such actions constitute a severe breach of ethical standards, code conducts, and potential legal infractions. Planning commissioners are expected to act in a businesslike, respectful, and courteous manner. They are explicitly prohibited from abusive or allowing abusive behavior, which includes actions that intimidate or belittle individuals. Public meetings must be conducted safely with an emphasis on civility. A commissioner lunging at a resident violates the obligation to maintain an environment of respect. Such actions could constitute disturbing a public meeting, a legal offense. Furthermore, a member of a planning commission could be removed for misfeasance, malfeasance, or nonfeasance in office following proper procedures. If a commissioner engages in threatening behavior, the chair has the authority to intervene. Such behavior is a violation of ethics, professional, and potentially criminal codes, and is generally grounds for disciplinary action or removal.
Anybody else? Hi, Gordon Tomaszewski. In noting that there's going to be a joint held meeting, I think it would be a wonderful opportunity, seeing how we're talking about code of conducts and things that we refer to ethics, maybe morals. At that point, and I know I've asked you several times, I'd like for one of you to turn around and bring up and somebody introduce the issue of having an attendance policy. It's just all met with deaf ears. Nobody wants to bring it up, and we want to continue to operate the same way. And I know there's been, through the recall campaign, it's been mentioned that, well, there's nothing I could do. You only have to attend 4 meetings. It's 12 meetings. Well, you know what? Here's the opportunity to put some teeth into something and turn around and put it on paper. Other townships do it. We always hear when we're looking for a pay raise or we're looking at other issues, what other townships do. Guess what? There are other townships that do hold their planning commission and their boards accountable to an attendance policy. I don't believe that's unreasonable to ask. You go to work. I know when I worked, I couldn't just show up 80% of the time or 70% of the time. There was a standard. You're employed by the residents, and I think the residents would really love to see something. So please, somebody, if anybody's going to do something, please go ahead and do it. Otherwise, we're just going to go down the same path we've gone down forever. There's no accountability, and people just turn around and supposedly try to claim they're looking out for the best interest of the residents. And one last comment. Speaking to a gentleman who come up here and was speaking about people grandstanding. What you have to realize, these meetings are supposed to be for the public and supposed to be informational. A lot of people don't live on Facebook and don't sit in an echo chamber and listen to all the dribble. People come here because they want information. They want to be able to make informed decisions for themselves. So if that person knows it all, hey, great for him. But there's a lot of people that don't know everything. They're more than willing to listen and have people try to dissect things and give them information to work with.
Jeanette Ropetta, Tyrone Township resident. I've got 2 agenda items that I want to talk about tonight. The first one is new business number 2. I was interrupted twice by that person whose item's on the agenda tonight at the last meeting. So I just want to know, because I'm confused about how your existing code of conduct works. Are you going to allow me, Greg, to heckle him the way you allowed him to heckle me that night? He yelled out at me twice, interrupting my time, saying, "Not again, get a life." I looked at you, Supervisor Carnes, and asked, "Are you going to call him out?" You looked directly at me, not at him, and you said, "Hey, hey, hey," and then you shook your head, pointed at me, and said no. So how does this code of conduct work? This matters especially because unfinished business number 3, code of conduct policy revisions, is on the agenda. And I'm wondering, how can you even consider addressing a code of conduct when first, you, the supervisor, won't enforce it equally, and second, that you, the supervisor, continually to violate it yourself and allow other board members, such as the treasurer, to violate it also? Here's some questions for the board to consider tonight. When a public official tells a resident, "We don't want your opinion anyway," during public comment, is that a violation of the code of conduct? When you slam your gavel and yell, "It's my meeting," when clearly, according to the OMA, it's not your meeting, Mr. Supervisor, is that a violation of the code of conduct? When you shut down meetings and even during public comment, you shut them down, therefore removing our right to speak. Is that a violation? And what about a trustee putting his fingers in his ears and yelling, "Stop yelling," while a resident speaks? Is that a violation? So let me be clear for everyone in the room, including the board. During public comment, residents are entitled to speak freely within time limits. We get to say what we want to say. While board members are limited to maintaining order and then may not debate, interrupt, dismiss, or respond to resident remarks. Because why? Because doing so chills protected speech. But no consequences for any of you when you violate the code of conduct. So you just make the rules and break them and laugh at us while you aren't held responsible. These are fake rules that you want to implement. They're rules for thee, but not for me. You want residents to comply with increasingly restrictive rules while board members themselves routinely violate even the existing code of conduct, including dismissing residents' comments, interrupting speakers, and attempting to curtail remarks mid-comment, and also applying your so-called code of conduct unequally. Even tonight, you got people in the back saying things, and you choose to ignore them because you like them and you like what they say. But if I open my mouth, you immediately point at me. So if you can't hear them, open your ears and start listening.
Anybody else? All righty. Close public remarks and move into unfinished business. Number one, the fund balance policy amendments. I think clerk and the treasurer, you've been working on it? I don't know if you have any
Well, I
numbers.
think we decided to take it over since nobody's given us any info that brought it up. So Pam and I are working on it, so we don't have anything new to
We
report.
don't really have any numbers to share at this meeting, but maybe the next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, I have a question. We're discussing this fund balance, and the only thing we have is the previous resolution, 160601, from March of 2016 and 2017. That's the fiscal year. But there's no other fund balances since then. So I guess the first obvious question for me that we haven't asked yet is, why are we bringing this up now? What's changed that we need to discuss this fund balance? Is there something that you're preparing for coming up that would require a fund balance transfer mechanism? I've read, the documentation here committing fund balances, but it's very vague on, I haven't seen anything on why we're having this discussion right now.
Well, I think the basis for that, our accountant Casey would like to answer.
Well, before you respond, please, is there anything that you guys, since Pam, you and Jennifer are taking over, it would be helpful to have a summary of what it is, why this is coming on for discussion. Because each time I read it, and by the way, thank you for adding the notes from the previous discussions, but it's not helpful when we don't even know what the purpose of discussing it is, so.
Well, when we discussed it a couple of meetings ago, the fund balance 4.10, this form here, that's a form from MTA. So I think ideally the goal is to update it. This is an old resolution. Different things are involved now.
Okay.
But there's nothing specific that pushed us to
Well,
begin this,
that was my question.
aside from our
There's-
conversations with Casey, our accountant, so he's going to
Well, but
update us.
one more thing, thank you.
Yeah.
Indulge me. The reason I asked it that way is because if we're just trying to update the fund balance but don't have a particular purpose, then what's the purpose of spending our time discussing it. Are we in jeopardy? Or if we have a purpose in the future for the fund balance, number, percentage, or whatever it might be, and is it causing us a problem today, or is it just a nice exercise? Okay, Casey.
Is it okay now? All right. Good evening. So the fund balance policy that was brought before you was based on when our auditors came to present to all of you. All of you had asked if we had a fund balance policy based on where we were at balance-wise currently after the audit. So page number 25 and 26 in your board packets are the MTA. It's a sample one that's been used. So in that, if you look at it, some of the items are blank because it is a template. So it says the township board delegates the authority to assign fund balance to the, so most places would say the supervisor or whoever you want to delegate for that. So this exercise was done because it was asked by the board what the fund balance policy should be. So we're bringing it back to you saying, here's a sample. It's determinations that the board should make on what fund balance percentage, if you ever in the future start to get down to a certain fund balance, then that's the triggers to start to look at it. So the reason it was brought before you was because when we did look at it after it was requested, the page 24 in your packet is the only resolution that the board had in the past, and that's for committed fund balance, which is required board action to do that. So that's why we included that page in there. That was back done in 16, okay, yep. And so this new fund balance policy is just I want to say a beefed up fund balance policy to cover all the different categories of the fund balance based on GASB 54. And so what it is just determining what this board feels is good levels to have a fund balance percentage in some of those blanks. And that's where they've left it blank in the MTA template.
Okay, because I remember the auditor meeting, and my specific question was about contingency and a contingency percentage that the state had recommended of 16.7, 16.8%. At one point, I talked to the MTA lawyer who governs that, Catherine, I think her name is, and she said they don't do that anymore. They look at about two months worth of revenues and things like that from a contingency planning. But that's maybe why I was confused about that being equated to. Is it different than the fund balance percentage, or are we talking about the same thing?
We're probably using different words to discuss the same thing. So this is the official verbiage, fund balance policy, contingency. In governmental accounting, it's considered the fund balance, or I guess you could call it your rainy day fund, your savings account. It's
Okay.
fund balance. So with that, and I think Joe our auditor had said the same thing. It's what we feel comfortable with as a board. There is no, yes, I know MTA or even the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, they'll say, hey, in the past, we might have said 15%, but like probably Catherine, when you talk to her, like she said, they're not in the business of telling townships or any other municipalities what's right for them. So that's where some of this comes back to what the board feels is necessary or a necessary fund balance. So
Okay.
that's what this policy is looking to just memorialize what the board thinks is appropriate percentages based on when Joe came to present to us the audit.
So it wasn't clear from Joe's discussion in my memory, it's only my opinion as one board member, because I don't think anybody up here on the board, as far as I know, really can say, here is a history or trend in our government funds that would say, here's evidence that says we should not fall below a particular percentage. And so and just the reason I say that is because you're asking, well, the board can make the decision. I think this board member is looking for a smarter person than I am to say, hey, based on your township, here's some things we see for consideration about deciding what that fund balance percentage should be, instead of just saying, well, what do you guys want to do? Right, so that
Sure.
I'm looking for evidence-based stuff if possible.
And that makes sense. And I think some of that, you can look at similar size, similar area, close to you, and we could show that I know pulled some of that data to see what their fund balance percentages are. The hardest part with that is there's still, each township is a separate entity, so although maybe the next door township, it's good for them to not drop below 200% or 150%, maybe we see it being more than that now. At the end of the day, a lot of the fund balance policies you're going to see in other municipalities, and it's just from my former life as an auditor, is we are in a different spot where we do have fund balance percentages up. So a lot of this is to protect yourself if you start to drop low. That's kind of like the trigger to say, hey, let's come back and talk about this. So I don't mean to be evasive in saying I can't tell you what the percentage is, but it's more a feel for how this board feels is an appropriate percentage. So I don't mean to be evasive and say I can't give you a percentage, but it's very similar to what Joe said of each township or each municipality really is a separate entity and what they feel comfortable with.
Great. You are our accountant, right?
Sure.
That we contract. Thank you.
Yep.
Can you give us tangible year-over-year percentages of the fund balance for the last 10, 15 years? That would give us some data to say, hey, look, today, and this was my question to the auditor, today we have over $7 million at the last, last March, we had $7.5 million in unallocated funds. That means not budgeted for anything, not available for the township. And the question is, well, that's a huge percentage of our $28 million total assets and everything. It's huge. So I'd love to see what that has been over the last larger period of time. I think 10, 15 years would probably be a better trend, so that we can understand what we're saving our money for, if that, and then maybe come up with the conclusion of where were we at risk of coming close to dipping down to that level where it would have been a concern, could be a point or a baseline point to establish a floor. And that's, I think, from a data perspective, what could help us. And I'd love to hear the comments from my colleagues.
And just real quick before that, I'm happy to pull the data for the last 10 years and provide you what that is for the general fund. Also, I can pull a couple similar sized townships and see what they look like, to just as an example, right? So happy to do that and happy to provide that data.
Thank you.
I would also like you to look at Heartland, because they are in a similar situation with an aging sewer system that
We have a
is
lot more infrastructure than we do.
true, but we need to consider that.
Are there any other similar ones you would like me to include? Any board members say, hey, this is a comparable township to look at as just a data point?
Marion, of course.
Yeah,
Marion
they're
Township.
similar in population
Okay.
size.
Population tax.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that's a good approach, is to look at data and try to get some understanding of what we've seen in the past and to help us make that decision?
Clerk Mogler and Treasurer Eden were looking into that, so you kind of reaffirmed the direction. So, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Are we good?
Yep.
Trustees? So we can move on?
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can move on to unfinished business number 2. Best forum for determining board goals and the direction of the township. I don't recall, was it trustee Haas that was going to work on that, or
Yes.
help me out? So, did he confer anything with you?
Nope. Nope. But I do have some additional thoughts since I seconded that motion. I think if we're looking at goals and setting directions, I think we got to go back to the core elements of what the township's responsible for. And if we can do that, tonight we're going to talk about the budget. looks like in some detail, thank you, Casey, for providing that. That's one of the core things about setting goals, is how do we spend the money that we're stewards of from the township residents. And I don't think we need to have really a huge discussion on this. I think if we go back to what is expected of us as a board, then we stick to those things that are expected, especially
Yeah.
statutory-wise. I think we can just remove this from a discussion point. I know this was left over something Sarah was trying to push forward, but I think it's simpler than that myself. Love to hear the comments of my colleagues.
I would like to recommend removing it from unfinished business as well. I mean,
I
again,
agree.
I agree with trustee Repetta on this, because it's,
I agree.
how about,
I don't have any problem removing it. It would be, I think, a useful exercise, but I don't know that it's something that necessarily needs to sit on the agenda as unfinished business, and
So we need someone to make a motion to remove.
all right, I will entertain a motion to remove number 2, best forum for determining board goals and direction, remove that from unfinished business.
You're making a motion.
I'll second it, I'm sorry.
Oh,
second.
I'll make it a motion.
I'll motion to remove this, but I also wanted one other comment too. Zach, is this something that you think a workshop would be beneficial? Do you think it's big enough to spend time in a separate meeting from the board meeting to get residents' input or other things along those lines?
I think it could be. I would want to see the format of the workshop, before fully answering your question, but I'm always open to that idea, so.
Okay. We don't have one, but,
No.
okay. Well, I motion to remove it from, and then if it comes up again, we can
Yeah.
always revisit it, but I
Yep.
motion to remove it from the agenda until such a time.
From unfinished business.
Yes.
And do I have a second?
Chris seconded.
Oh.
You
Oh,
moved it.
I just
made the
made,
motion.
yeah, okay, I seconded it, correct.
Okay,
All right.
did you get that, Karen? Thank you. I'm glad you kept it straight. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. All right, the code of conduct policy revisions. I know there's been some discussion on the,
I'm not opposed to
Comment card?
removing the
Yeah.
comment cards. Addressing the board, number 2, we can leave in place A and B, and remove A in red, persons. That comment card was only for the residents' help, not ours.
Yeah.
If they had questions or comments, they could have put them on that card. So if they don't think they want to do that, then that's fine.
so are you saying leave number 2, A and B?
Yes,
Do
so
not
the-
score them out.
Right, so those will stay in place.
We
Persons
will-
wishing to address the Board of Commission on any item will do so by raising their hand, and the supervisor or chairman asks the public comments and waiting to be recognized.
Correct.
B, each speaker shall provide his or her name and address at the beginning of his or her comment. For the formal record, if the speaker represents an association or group, he or she should identify the entity he or she represents.
Which is what we do now.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, and then B on the next page, cross off that last sentence, a comment card must be filled out in order to
Yep.
address the board. But all other amendments and changes in red, I think are necessary. What does everybody else think?
I'm in agreement with that as well.
I'm in disagreement with that, with any changes to this, and I think what we have in place is fine, and even lean toward agreeing with what Herman said, let's do away with the code of conduct and be civil with each other. if we're not gonna enforce anything. So anything more to that, in my mind, is just continuing to, you know, all persons are to evacuate the building after the meeting adjourns. Most people go home. I don't see any vagrants camping out here, and I think that's typically what happens. You know, if we're gonna get into micromanaging everything, I think that's what these extra things do. They micromanage way too much. And I think the more we can respect the residents and the public that are out there and each other, then I don't think any of these things are really necessary.
I'm curious, Trustee Repeta, what the reason that a resident would have to be in the hall after the conclusion of the meeting.
Residents often stop me to ask me as a trustee questions. This is saying that all persons, including myself, can't stop and talk to my constituents. So that's a violation of my rights and the residents' rights, because we're here in a warm climate, in the hall or in this room.
That's a fair point. I mean, I guess I would say, why can't we have it, say, within 15 minutes of the conclusion of the meeting?
Some people, like some residents, as we know here, are more boisterous and talk longer. I mean, we had our keys taken away because of security issues, even though the sheriff said there was a nothing burger, I think it was his term. So we have a trust issue with the trustees in this open space. So if somebody wants, I'm often, talking to residents. I've had many residents stop me, and if I have to be on a time limit, that's not right either. That's why I just don't think it's a good thing to put limits on this. Ken?
I think you have to allow staff to be able to leave, though.
Exactly.
Sure, but I can come into this building when I had my key. I could come into this room, pick up something I might have left here on my desk area right here, without having staff be present, right? They can lock up the offices. We have locks and security cameras on 100% of the time. There's plenty of mechanisms in place to keep everybody in check. And obviously, the last person out who is not an official or township employee is, we shouldn't have a resident hanging out here after everybody else is leaving. So I'm completely in favor, if you really think you need to have some additional comments, to say the last person out should be an elected official or an employee who's assigned to be here. I'm happy to stay. I think having the space, especially after meetings, for the public to talk to us, and limiting that to 15 minutes I just think it's ridiculous, personally. It's not conducive to being open and available to our residents and the public, even people who aren't our residents. Or what if a news person is here and wants to interview me or something, or you or somebody else, so.
My conversations with residents typically occur in the parking lot, but I guess.
That's nice, but you want to go out in the parking lot today, Zach? Is that where you want to be, having a discussion in 1 degree? I'm sorry, I think this is ridiculous. I think it's just micromanaging again, and it shows the distrust that this township board has with the residents and with each other. All of these changes that are being addressed are that way. We don't need to state normal business hours address, our office doors are locked after 5 p.m. I think everybody understands that.
We do have to state that, because I had a resident try to push his way through the door when I was going to my office.
There was 100 people in here.
No.
And he was actually talking, if you're talking about Jim Combs, he was talking to Kevin Ross, a resident at the time, who came to that meeting, who was on his way into that hallway as well, who was also allowed there. So I
Yes,
beg to
he's a
differ.
Commissioner.
Well, he wasn't acting in a commissioner role at the time.
He was, because supervisor asked to speak to
No, he
him.
wasn't.
Hey,
Excuse me?
I beg to differ, but the point is that if you take any one security event,
okay.
then I think, and change everything. I go back to what Sheriff Murphy then said, nothing burger.
Chuck, can you give us your opinion on the post-meeting conduct? About asking everybody to leave and,
I think it's reasonable that you have a time period by which the building has to be vacated. totally reasonable. If you don't put something down, it could be here for hours.
All night, yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I don't know if it needs to be right after the meeting adjourns, but there should be a time limit on it. I mean,
So
I'd be
building
in
with
favor of 15
15
minutes.
minutes, I'm fine. Vacate the building within 15 minutes,
After, yes,
15 minutes after the
after
meeting
the
adjourns.
meeting adjourns, yeah.
Distrust. Shame. Shameful.
It's not
I
distressing.
don't think it's.
Hey, that's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it.
You are.
Thank you very
You're allowed
much.
to believe it. All right, I will,
So who can review what we're keeping in this monstrosity? Are we keeping C in section 1?
yes, correct?
Yep.
So we're not able to know what respectful is. All right, I got it.
And we are keeping A and B
In
and
number
2.
two.
And we're taking out the red.
A.
A.
The previous A and B.
Yep, we're keeping those. We're taking out the last sentence in B,
In the red.
in the red, a comment card must be, we're taking that out. C is staying as printed,
That's all old.
or I'm sorry,
verbiage.
E. I'm
E in the red is staying.
staying. And then we're adding
F in the red is staying.
15 minutes.
This
Oh, the
one's-
red, yeah, in F, yep,
And then the 4 and 5 at the bottom.
with 15 minutes.
Right.
Did you get all that, Terry? Did you get all that?
I think I did that.
Got it?
Got it.
All right.
Is there a reason that section 2F, we're saying to be respectful again? Or are you just simply trying to say
Be respectful every.
everywhere? You can do that in the first one to consolidate and not have two. In other words, everybody should be respectful everywhere. Again, I feel like I'm back in kindergarten. All right,
Well, some people need a reminder.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. You're entitled to your
You're
opinion.
entitled to your opinion.
All right, so we went through the emotion, or the motion. Or I don't have an emotion. We went through
Resolution.
the resolution. Do I have a motion to
Accept the resolution.
approve or deny?
I'll make the resolution to adopt the code of conduct for public township meetings
As amended.
as amended. Thank you.
I'll support.
So we have a motion to accept, and we'll do a roll call vote.
Greg Carnes,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes?
Herman Ferguson,
Yes.
Dean Haas is absent, Pam Moffler, yes, Chris Repetta,
No way.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
All right, motion carries. We'll adopt that code of conduct. All right, number 4, unfinished business, the open burning ordinance amendments. Well, there was some questions. We wanted input from the fire chief of Fenton Township and the Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority fire chief as well. They both chimed in, and it appears they concur with Mr. Karendoff, the City of Fenton Fire Chief. I also looked at the 2025 International Fire Code regulations for campfire rings. And it does say should be 3 feet or less in diameter and not more than 3 feet in height. so,
For
for campfire rings.
recreational burning,
Campfire rings, correct,
but that's specific for recreational rings.
correct.
Open burning is different than recreational burning, correct?
Yes,
Okay, just making sure we're clear.
yep. And our ordinance does cover the open burn as well, which is a larger fire, but
And it's 3 acres or more.
in 3 acres or more, correct.
You know, I apologize for making this comment again, but the request was to have the other fire chief be here in person so we could ask questions. And again, you've ignored that request.
No,
And,
I did not
Available.
ignore the request. These gentlemen are busy with other meetings.
You ignored the request because we asked for them to make time. It's been months. And if they can't possibly square themselves away for a meeting with us, that's pretty sad. I apologize, but that's sad. And that was the request. The request was so we could ask them questions, not for you to ask them questions, but that the board could ask them questions, like the fire chief, who was also busy from Fenton, who did come.
Yes.
That we could ask questions to. So. So can anyone explain to me, on their own, without looking, what this fire resolution is all about? If a resident came up to you and said, what do I have to do? Because I think if this board can't individually explain all of these ordinances, changes and things that we're talking about, we should not pass this until we are all experts in what this means. Because at the last meeting when we had a person out here, Noah, who we charged money to, there were 3 different answers to why he broke the ordinance. Nobody knew what was going on. It was complete chaos. And I think it's offensive to say that if we as a board can't understand what it is easily and be able to reiterate it, how do you expect a resident? You know, we've gotten too many times where people say, well, resident, you just have to go read it. Well, if the board can't understand it, how do we expect the residents to understand it? So I'd love to see if each one of us can reiterate that, or until we get to the point of being able to understand it in a simpler way and be able to reiterate that to a resident, that we shouldn't vote on it.
I can comment on Noah. We gave him a break. We really,
That's not my question, Greg.
we should have
That's-
charged him.
That's not my
The
question.
question is, the fire was out of control.
Greg, my
When-
question, excuse me for interrupting, but my question is not about Noah. My question is about us knowing these ordinances.
Which part of this would you like me to
The
explain
whole
to you?
thing. Just don't look at it, don't look, but just tell me, if I'm a resident, what are our fire ordinances? What would be the highlights that would be important without looking? That's the point that I'm trying to understand.
Respectfully, Trustee Repeta, I don't think it's meant to be something that residents or board members, anybody has memorized. It's designed to be something for them to look at so that they then understand whether they're complying with the ordinance or not.
In that case, I agree as a reference, but this board has demonstrated in the past prior to you coming on board, Zach, that that there's a lot of differences in how people look at this and interpret these items. And so it's confusing, and it needs to be redone in a way that structures it so that it's not.
I think that's what we did, trustee.
I would certainly understood it. yeah.
We really tried to clean this up, and I think we did.
Shorten it, I do.
I think we
This
did.
isn't a
Took
clear
some
version,
stuff
so
out.
maybe it's a little.
All 3 fire chiefs that went through it thoroughly. I don't know how you can make it any more brief and still protect the township.
And that's its sole purpose.
And
So, for one, when people talk about open burning, there is confusion between what that means and those regulations, different than recreational burning. That's been a consistent thing. And here we have an example from the fire chief, Chief Carroll from Heartland. He says 7.1.2, this is for grass and leaf burning. Okay, great, open burning. And if I go to the section 7.1.2, sorry, let me flip over there.
That's what it says, open burning of leaves and grass clippings.
7.1.2, open leaf burning, correct. And we also have the fire pit issue as well. But the 7.1.6 at the bottom of that page says that for open burning, we have 3 feet height for a burn, nor occupy a land area greater than 10 by 10. So now an open burning pit can be 10 feet by 10 feet. But if you're going to put a 3-foot ring in an area that's 10 by 10 for open burning, then I'm a little
Bruce, I think
confused.
you're confused on recreational and open, two different things.
So-
Recreational burn, a 3-foot ring. In an open
Campfire.
burning, you have to have 3 acres or more.
In order,
Brush pile.
and
That's
less
open burning.
than a 10 by 10 area of burning,
3 acres or more, and you have that, open burning.
okay?
So recreational fire, 3-foot ring, 3 feet high.
Okay, but the specification for the fire inside is 3 feet by 2 feet.
For the
high.
ring,
No, for the fire, because we specify the actual fire.
you're looking at recreational. You're looking at two different things. One's recreational, one's open burning.
Yeah,
You can have a recreational fire in a small ring, less than 3 acres, 1 acre, half acre.
but even if I had a 5-foot ring,
As long
then
as the
the fire still can only be 3 feet by 2 feet high.
I don't think anybody's gonna call. I've been over to Dean's house many times. We've had a 6-foot ring and nobody's called. As long as it's not smoking, that's the biggest problem they're having.
Hey, this is very
It says the
specific.
fire.
We're trying to
Fire
write an
area
ordinance
fire.
that is the law, correct?
But what we're doing is going on, like Greg said, the international, the 3-foot ring.
I'd like to point out, though, in section 4 is the definitions, and it does define recreational fire, clean wood, construction and demolition waste, who the fire chief is, the municipality, outdoor burning, open burning, patio wood burning unit, and refuse and nuisance. So it is defined in there with definitions, what each one has.
And I agree with that section, Madam Clerk, except it says recreational fire in 4.1 means a small outdoor fire, and then in parentheses, C 7.1.1. And if I go to 7.1.1, it says open burning of trees, logs, brush, and stumps must be conducted in a 1,400 feet from an incorporated village limit. So why is it pointing me I would assume that it's pointing me to an area which further defines a recreational fire, because that's what the definition is, but that doesn't seem to point me to any more information about a recreational fire. It points me to section 7, which is open burning, which is not a recreational fire. Again, that's confusing. Now, I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but when you see references and definitions to go look at somewhere else that's not within the reference to a recreational fire, I think that's confusing. I mean, this is what I'm talking about.
I agree, it's confusing,
Yeah.
and I think when
Well,
you
I
see
think
those
that's supposed to
things-
be 7.1.7. Point 7. So on your on your page 4, it's right at the top, 7.1.7. Outdoor recreational fires are allowed, provided they do not cause nuisance.
Yes, that makes more sense.
I think we did have that, we made that note that very first time.
Okay.
And it
missed
didn't
it.
get in this one.
We missed
Yeah.
it. I do.
'Cause I remember that.
Yeah. We missed
We
that.
brought that up
We
during
missed that.
another
It should
meeting.
be
Good catch.
7.17.
So,
Yeah.
back to trustee Ferguson's comment that no one's gonna enforce the ring size anyway,
Well,
then why don't we just adjust the ring size so that nobody has to enforce it if no one's gonna get nitpicky about a fire? I mean,
Well,
that,
I think part of the issue is if you say, you could have a 6-foot ring, people are going to be more inclined to have a larger fire in there.
Exactly.
I think that's the concern.
It tells you the fuel area of the fire must be 3 feet or less in diameter and 2 feet or less in height.
yep, that constitutes the fire actual size, the burning
Exactly.
fire.
The fuel area, right. I think you could have a
It's not telling
10-foot
you
fire
what
pit
size
as
your
long
ring
as
has
the
to be, but
fuel
your
area.
fire.
Well, that's what we're arguing, trustee Tucker, we're arguing about the size of the fire pit being different when we already have a specification for the actual fire. I'm not arguing about the fire itself being 3 feet by 2 feet at the max. I'm arguing about what ring or size of the fire pit. Maybe you dug a hole, and if the hole is 10 foot by 10 foot, and you put rocks around the hole.
3 feet by 2 feet, you're fine.
Well, that's my
But if
point.
you
So
only have
a
that-
5-foot or 6-foot ring is the point. Makes no difference the size of the ring that
Right.
contains the fire if we already have a fire specification of how big the fire is. So let's remove the ring size because
Where do we
hang
have
on,
ring
where is
size?
it ring size?
We don't have a
Where's
ring
the
size on
ordinance
it.
say ring size?
that is on,
I don't think.
that's what we've been arguing for the last 5 meetings.
I don't
is-
see ring size on
I
here.
think he wanted to,
We say
Add it.
fire.
No,
It
It's-
was in the comments, I think, from some of the fire chiefs. That
Yeah,
might be where
they
ring
all,
size is
and
coming from.
yeah,
because that's
but it's
what
not in our ordinance.
Dean requested to have it changed,
To 6 feet.
parcels and,
and I'm good with not specifying a ring size.
We didn't.
I think he
In fa-
wanted to add it to
I
this
think I'm
first
good,
one.
if I may finish, not
Sorry.
specifying a ring size at all.
Okay.
I have been, because there's been so much discussion about ring size, I thought that that was in here, and I'm looking, I thought it was,
I think that's what Dean wanted to add to 7.1.7, that instead of the 3 feet, he wanted a ring size put there.
well, the 3 feet in 7.1.7
7.7.
is the actual size of the fire.
Yes,
Again,
but I think
that's,
he wanted to add verbiage in there that you could have a 6-foot ring.
okay, well, I won't argue ring size.
You can
if
have
there's-
whatever
if-
size ring you want.
Well, if that's the case, but that's what's been the argument and why I brought it up again so
Right.
far,
You're right.
is
That
because
what
it's
he was-
regardless of ring size,
Yeah.
the fire shouldn't be, is by ordinance not to exceed 3 feet by 2 feet high, 3 feet in diameter.
Campfire,
Right.
a campfire, not a brush pile, a campfire.
Well, unfortunately, Greg, that's in your open burning section.
No,
So,
they're all open burning.
well, that's the problem. Why it's confusing is because you have just talked about a campfire, which I would assume being a recreational fire, but we're referring to 7.1.7, which is in the open burning section, to talk about a fire being 3 feet or less in diameter and 2 feet or less in height, and must be at least 25 feet from any structure. So if you're confused about that, then that's what the
I'm not.
residents are.
I'm not confused. I've been through it too many times.
Well, where's the campfire then?
Greg, are we ready to move on with this?
I am.
Vote?
So
I am.
before we do that, I had a few relatively minor things that I felt were worth discussion. I think there's a couple spots where there's reference made to the local fire department, which isn't in this set of definitions. I would add a definition for local fire department that just says local fire department means the fire department, or the City of Fenton Fire Department, Fenton Township Fire Department, Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority, or any other fire department that Tyrone Township may contract with in the future. And that's primarily from 7.1.4 is where I'm looking at.
Well,
So on the first page,
look
your
at-
definitions, it
look at
has
4.4
at the bottom.
in section 4,
Is
4.4.
that what you need?
It's basically the same language, but
Yeah.
that's for fire chief.
Yes.
okay. And you're saying put that where?
I would just add it as an additional definition, so it'd be, if you want to put it in alphabetical order, it wouldn't be 4.11, but stick it in there. where it would be alphabetical is probably what I would do. And that's basically for the burning ban part, because I do think it's unclear, you know, what local fire department means, especially here in Tyrone Township. And then for 4.10, I felt it would be better if it read, nuisance means any burning that creates a foul, offensive odor or causes, plural S, smoke emissions that are offensive to occupants in the area or cause traffic issues and/or other hazardous conditions.
Any materials instead of no?
Yeah, any.
Okay.
Any burning means any burning.
Okay.
And then
Any
7,
burning shall, wait,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm confused.
Hang on.
Nuisance means that any burning, and then what did you have after that?
just a general definition. So nuisance means any burning that creates a foul, offensive
Okay.
odor. Or, and then the only other change
Yeah.
there would be add an S to causes smoke emissions.
Okay.
Terry, did you get the first change that Zach wanted? Okay. Thanks.
And then just a couple more. 7.1.6 in the new text where it starts competent person, I think it should read a competent person, not the competent person. Real minor stuff. None of this is substantive. 7.1.12, there's a rogue 1 in partition. I think that may be from the original text, actually, but
I think it is. I had that one.
Yep.
and then 7.1.14. I thought it was better, and this one certainly open to any discussion. I felt it was better to just say refer to the Tyrone Township website. That way, if we're not referring people to Heartland Deerfield Fire Authority, you know, if that changes in the future, then we don't have to address the ordinance again. We don't have to look at it again. So that would be just deletion of the last sentence there.
I think the reason why we had that is in the event that we're closed on the weekend or something, if there is a do not burn, it's gonna be on their site.
What was the letter we got from the Oxford thing? They have their own call-in, 24-hour call-in. Can we do that in case you are closed?
Heartland Deerfield does that.
They've got a 24-hour
That's why
call-in.
we refer to them.
Well, I apologize for that.
24/7,
Because we're not here on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to
Right.
change it.
and we're just gonna
if
follow what
something
they do
happens.
anyway.
Right. So ignore my last suggested change.
That's why we did
Because
that.
I like that in there.
Yeah.
So,
That's why we did that, because they have 24/7 website and answering service. So if
Perfect.
somebody calls, they will say, we have a no burn in.
makes sense.
Okay, Terry, did you get all those?
So if there's no further discussion,
Should we recap, or
go ahead.
I'm?
We have video.
Okay, okay. All right, then I will entertain a motion to accept the open burning ordinance amendments as presented.
I would make a resolution to adopt
Resolution.
the open burn ordinance as amended.
I'll second. Or, again, either one.
Okay, we're gonna have a
Which one
roll
of you?
call, roll call vote.
Flip a coin there.
Jennifer?
Yes?
Oh, I'm talking to Terry. Jennifer seconded?
Jennifer
Either
said,
one.
And we're not,
Jennifer?
by the way, we're not amending the acreage? Is that what you guys are suggesting, that it's still 3 acres
Yep.
and not 2 acres, or some compromise?
Yep, that is correct.
we're staying with 3.
Greg Carnes?
Yes,
Jennifer Eden?
Yes?
Herm Ferguson?
Yes,
Dean Haas is absent. Pam Mochler, yes. Chris Repetta?
I'm going to vote no until, because of the acreage, and some other clarifications and simplifications that I think we need.
Zach Tucker?
Yes.
All right. That amendment change carries. All right, moving on to unfinished business item number 5. The ordinance to prohibit non-disclosure agreements. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask Chuck what he thinks of a policy against NDAs.
The Freedom of Information Act requires that the township maintain and provide to the public upon request township documents. If there is an NDA, the Freedom of Information Act requires us to dispel, or to provide that agreement to the public unless the Freedom of Information Act itself has an exception for the disclosure requirements. So first of all, the Freedom of Information Act is probably going to override any non-disclosure agreement that the township has. Second of all, the legislature contemplated certain circumstances in which certain documents should not be made public. And those are set forth in the Freedom of Information Act request, or Freedom of Information Act. It's my opinion that the township should not, with a broad brush, take away a tool that it may have to keep documents that the legislature believes can be kept private. So I believe that if you have a non-disclosure ordinance, you're taking a tool out of the toolbox. And I think you want to keep that. I would not have a broad NDA ordinance.
Any discussion?
Nope, he made it
Makes
pretty
sense.
clear.
I do. I have lots to say on that one.
Okay.
The example that we put, that there's a comment about the FOIA, I understand, and I guess I hear what Attorney Whitmire says, but I disagree wholeheartedly. I think the fact that when people who are either elected or appointed or employed by this township have an open-end ability to sign a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality disclosure agreement, CDA, then it puts us even at higher legal risk because it's going to drive the lack of transparency and people who would be elected, appointed, or employees to hide information from the public that would otherwise be available. And I'm not talking about, I think there's a little bit of misdirection by our attorney by saying NDAs with the township. Now, while I may agree that a township may enter into a non-disclosure reason because of reasons for legal purposes, any individual, like a planning commissioner, a ZBA commissioner, member, a board member, should never be entering, in my mind, into an NDA with a company that's trying to either develop land, to influence the decision-making process or anything. That wouldn't be between the township and that company that's trying to develop. That would be between an individual person who's either elected, appointed, or an employee and that particular entity. That's different. So I don't think Attorney Whitmer is characterizing what this is trying to do is to prevent what I've described, not NDAs between the township that are legal and an entity for particular case reasons, for lawsuit reasons, other kinds of things where we wouldn't want to disclose information. We're talking specifically about things that aren't a township record, but are a record between an appointed, elected, or employee that would be between somebody or somebody else it's not reported, or no particular reason to be reported to the township as an official record. That's what we're trying to prevent. And by the way, I have lots of examples as well to add to this since in doing additional research by other townships that are pursuing very similar things, not just Cohocton, but there is samples in Big Rapids, Eagle Township. I've got links and other things of that nature to also describe what additional townships are doing.
Trustee
for that.
Repetta, how come you didn't share that with us?
Because it's just recent. It was after the packet was released.
Okay.
Supervisor Carnes.
Thank you.
And I know that we're not allowed to add things to the packet
Yeah,
after
all right.
it's been
I just
released.
wondered.
That's very strict rule by the clerk.
Well, Greg, I have confidence in our attorney that I make a motion, we accept this and not have an ordinance for an NDA, or the non-disclosure agreement.
So you want to make a motion to not adopt an
Yes.
ordinance to prohibit non-disclosure
Yes,
agreements?
yes, I do.
I'll second.
We have a second? Okay,
Sam just seconded.
okay.
That's unbelievable.
There's a resolution to.
Pam,
Shh, 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 shh. This is- So there's a motion to not enter a prohibit non-disclosure agreement, and a second. Roll call vote?
Greg Carnes,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes?
Herman Ferguson,
Yes,
Dean Haas is absent, Pam Mochler, yes. Chris Repetta,
No way.
Zach Tucker,
Yes.
All right, we're gonna take that off.
Lawyer wins.
All right, moving on to new business.
come on down, Casey.
Pre-budget, the pre-budget discussion.
Good evening. Thanks again for having me back up here again. Just wanted to, I know this is the pre-budget process. We've provided the detail to all of the board members for every single account that we have for the budget. I just wanted to make some notes before we got into the discussion. First thing is, our fiscal year runs from April 1st to March 31st. So the township is required to adopt a budget prior to April 1st. Hold on here, sorry. The budget is noted, although we have provided detail, it is adopted on a department or activity level. So, for example, the township.
Hang on,
Sorry.
it's not working. I'm sorry,
Budget meeting, it's not working.
I'm sorry. It's pre-budget. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And then I did want to point out in the detail, once you get past Fund 101, so Fund 218, 219, 225, those funds are all special assessment funds. So in those special assessments, means those are restricted for particular purposes, are not for just general fund purposes. So a lot of those are based on street lighting, trash removal, or debt that the township does have. So those are kind of set, preset. I know they're part of this process, but those are actually predetermined by how much debt is outstanding or a prior schedule when you guys did adopt the original special assessment district. And then in the detail that I did provide for you is the first two columns are the 2 prior year activity actuals. The third column is actual through December 31st. The fourth column is the current budget for this fiscal year that we are in. And the fifth column is the 26-27 budget, which is the one that will be, need to be approved by April 1st. So with that, I'll open up to questions. I'm happy to answer generic questions, if there's certain ones about, hey, what's this account, what's that? Happy to compile some of those, or if you could compile those in an email and send to Pam or Greg or Jennifer, they can get those to me, and I'm happy to answer those. So don't mind going through some of this, but just wanted to put that out there.
I do have a question. Is there a primer or list of the description of all of the different funds and departments and things of that nature that you can make available to us?
I can now, if we can go down to, and I do apologize if you want me to use.
I mean, we don't have to read it off the screen.
Right, so what I was going to point out is if you do go down to page 3, I guess that'll be, if you go 2 more pages down, please. So right there, if you see Department 101 Township Board, if you see that on the far left. So each department, and those are the level that we do adopt the budget at, you will see that that is what 101 is. So anything account 101 is for the Township Board.
Right, but there are lots more than the obvious ones, right?
Could you please give me an example of which one you're speaking of?
So as far as looking at, hold on, I got a bunch circled here. We have building and ground. Well, that one's easy. How about unallocated? 272, Department 272. How about,
So unallocated, so that one is per the Michigan Accounting Manual. That is stuff that is not particularly department-based. That is, as you'll see, like if telephones,
Right.
that's too unallocated. So correct, that'll fall under our other, which is based on the Michigan Accounting Manual.
just looking for a one-pager that
Sure.
says, here's by these department numbers, by the fund numbers, a short description, even a 5-word description that would, or a sentence that would help us to better understand if I should be asking certain questions
Sure.
about that, or should I just not be asking questions?
Sure, so I can look at a way to pull out of our accounting system what each department number is and what that short description, which will be the same description that is in the actual document, and by fund as well. It'll be the same thing. If it's Fund 218, that's a street lighting one, and I'm trying to just show you an example, but I'm happy to compile that down to a list if that's what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah, as just one I can have aside while I'm evaluating all these. And Supervisor Carnes, I thought this part of the process was to bring each department head up and talk about their budgets, and because obviously our accountant knows very well what the numbers are, but the justification and reasoning behind the decisions for these allocations and estimates for the coming up budget would be the responsibility of each department head, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes.
So are they going to present their sections and allow us to ask questions about them and to answer a lot of these questions? Because
Well, I'm looking at my department, 171 supervisor. I guess I'm asking, there you have it. What would you like? What would you like me to?
well, okay, I mean, clearly there's not a presentation of somebody's budget where we would say, I'm the department head, here's what we're doing, we see an increase from this year to last year, or from 2 years ago, here's the trend. Here I'm asking for a 20% increase, and here's why I'm asking for that additional money. That's not what we're going to get. Okay, so that means we'll need to go by line with each area to do that. Is that what we're intending to start with now?
So I guess,
I mean, who owns the board then? I mean, is it,
so I guess.
I don't know how these have been done. It's my first
Okay,
one.
all
They
right,
skipped the last one because
okay.
it was not included.
Let him answer.
Sure. So normal budget process would be, that's why we provide the 2 years of activity, which were the 2 columns, the current year activity, which is column 3, and then where the budget's at. So the general process is taking a look at what the current year budget is, rolling that over to start the year as a placeholder to start. then going line by line, which the three of us or four of us sat down and did look at it line by line to see. So I guess the question would be, if we're looking for line by line, then that would be where I would say some of the, if your questions are going to be what is in it from 2 years ago, that's not something I know off the top of my head. That takes research to look and see what's in there.
No, I wouldn't
So and
answer.
that's a normal budget process. If you look at it like your house, right? You know how much your car payments are, so that's what you kind of start with is your, unless you got a new car or disposed of a car. So that's what some of this process is really like.
Yeah, it's great. I appreciate that greatly. And the problem is that the four of you discussed it. Perfect, got it, understand. But now there's four others that need to know about it and to learn about it, including myself.
And here's what we did. We took the history, some of them numbers based on the history we raised, some of those numbers we lowered, based on the history. That's all we did. We took the history of the last 3-4 years and based those numbers on it. Now, there are some items, take for example, the Planning Commission. It's been zero for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I ask that we put, well, I have 1,500 showing in there, but I want to bump that to 2,400 because I have talked to the board members, ZBA and Planning Commission, and they would like to do some training. And so that's a brand new line item. So if you're asking where these numbers come from, that's where they come from. We went through line by line, and we either added or subtracted based on history, or you'll see in the note column, some of them we had to increase for inflation or premiums increased. Here's one, the fire well and Old Township Hall maintenance. Oh, we had to add something there too,
Yes,
didn't
we
we?
did.
Yeah. So there's even some more adjustments coming to this.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, this is a pre-budget discussion, and
Yeah, that's
I'm
why I'm
just
trying
trying
to
to
just understand the
explain,
process.
just trying to explain
So-
to you
In the
where these
pre-budget.
come from. Because, hey, it was new
Okay.
to me too.
So
New to me too.
let's do this. If you can go up one more page, Pam. I'm just gonna, this is kind of how the whole form works, from page 1 to page 28. And now, if you can see on there, if you go, make sure, are you on, can you go, I'm sorry, go up 2 pages,
Now,
please?
Just to let you know, I've done a detailed deep dive
Sure.
in every row item, so I'm
Okay,
pretty familiar
Okay.
myself, and that for the sake of my
Sure.
colleagues, I can't speak for them.
Sure.
But
sure. So I guess what I'm trying to point out, I'm sorry, Pam, you're going the wrong way. You go to page 2 of it. So for example, some of
That I
this,
understand.
I understand what you're saying line by line. Now, some of this stuff in the budget, like for example, the auditor cost, that was something we bid out 5 years ago for the audit. So the new budgeted amount is $15,500. Now, we can sit here and we can talk about it, but that's the budgeted amount because that's what our contract says. So those are certain items like that, is I just want to point out that are certain things in there, they're set in stone or how they are, so.
great, there's a note there then that
Sure,
reflects
sure,
that,
right, right. And some of them, you're going to see postage is $1,000. We've spent $800, so what's a good number? Probably $1,000 again this year. So that's where the process is.
Easy.
And the way the system works, not to get too deep into how BSNA works, is when you do start the budget, it rolls the budget. So it rolls it, whatever it is currently, it rolls it over, and then that's kind of the starting point to discuss. So that's part of it, why you'll see, I'm going to say 80% of column 5 matches column 4, because it's a rollover from year to year based on years of looking at it, how much is in there. So that's kind of the process of how it works.
Okay, 90% of your columns here have no notes. 90% of your rows. So that's helpful where you have a comment. It's not helpful when you don't have a comment.
So I would say that's why we're discussing some of the process. Like if you
Right.
look at this line, payroll processing fees, okay? We spent $6,500 $100 last year. We budgeted 7,000. We said, hey, 7,000 is a good number again. In my mind, putting a note next to that that says 6,500, 7,000, how is that beneficial? I'm asking from a perspective of doing the budget process line by line.
Well, for example, if you've increased it, there's a reason, a compelling reason, for example, anticipate higher cost. So there's 5,000 more, or there's 500 more, whatever it might be.
So are you suggesting I go through each line and say, adjust it up based on estimation? I'm just asking.
Those are a lot of the questions I have, is, for example, not just nitpicky things, but, for example, and there are some things, I said, hey, we've got total estimated revenues are down 900,000 from 23-24. If we look at that, but does that mean we are putting ourselves at risk? I mean, those are the kinds of questions that I have. It doesn't mean that there aren't explanations. I'm just looking for those. Or if you look at the total township board, we have a 29.5% increase since 24 and 25 in the board for Department 101. What would drive that kind of an increase?
If you look at the line, that would be the legal line item that we increased.
So the legal is and I notice we have chairs this year, that's good. So, but there's a note where it says boardroom chairs. And though, are we anticipating continued legal costs to increase? I mean, these are just the questions I have. I mean, I'm looking at it from wow, that thing jumped up, or that doubled, like mowing costs at the cemetery, things like that. So these are the kinds of things. Do we need to revisit the contractors that we're working, because the cost doubled over the last 2 or 3 years? Those kinds of things, I think, would be fair things that we should be talking about. Not from an accounting perspective, that it's increased, but what happened? Why did it increase? And it's not every line. I don't have every line, so don't worry.
And like I said, I don't mind if you guys have questions and you want to forward me them. I don't mind trying to answer some of the questions tonight. But if the plan was to go line by line, I can't say that it would be super productive for me to sit up here for an hour and a half, 2 hours to go line by line. So that's why I'm just trying to understand the process that you guys are looking for.
Is there anything, another item, like a big ticket item that you?
I have lots, because there's thousands of rows. But I think that should be done in a discussion in an open meeting. So if we want to spread out, these pages, there's 28 pages of detail. I don't have every line a question on. Obviously, there's a lot that don't have any data on them.
How many of these pages are pretty much set in stone of these 28?
Yeah,
that we really.
Once you get to about page 15, that does start the special assessments that we talked about before I started this presentation. With those special assessments, those are more set in stone, because those are determined based on, if we look at 218, which is the Jane Hill Street Lighting Fund. That's an amount that's been set on how much we assess the residents for that. We look at how much the lighting costs have been from consumers for the year, and those are pretty set in stone. So once you get to about page 15 of this document, most of those have been set in stone or have been looked at a different point in time when it came to the special assessment district. Once you get down into the 800 accounts, those are all the road projects that have been done over the past, I think Park and Lane is the old one that before I got here in 2018. The other 3 have been started since then. Those are set in stone, because those are set with a certain assessment amount for each year if it increases or based on the schedule. And then that is also set because that is the debt payments that we do owe back to the bank for that money. So yeah, once we get to about page 15, we can discuss them. I'm happy to discuss what those are, but most of those are set pretty well in stone.
Well, if we had those department lists, that front one pager, you might have saved me a lot of time in going through those and looking at them. I did pick up on the fact that they were special assessments. but here's another example on page 19, under Appropriations Department 446, road improvements. It says Center Road and Fawcett Road and Foley Road, road contracts, 75,000. Well, what about the rest of them? Then there's a different section for road improvements. I mean, these are the kinds of questions that I have.
Sure.
There's another section of road
Yeah.
improvements on 17 for Department 446, the same ones, which cover a different set with some stuff in between them. I'm just trying to make heads or tails out of that.
Sure.
What gymnastics do I need to do to add those up, or is there a specific thing that would give me the road improvements total for anywhere where road improvements outside of the special assessments might be?
Sure.
So that would be another question
Yep.
type of thing that I run into.
Yep.
Well, the page 17 that you're looking at those are special assessments. Those roads, that is for special assessment districts.
Yeah, on 17,
That's-
page 17.
Yeah, we really,
So page 17, Fund 232, which is considered Great Oaks Drive. So with that, you'll see we do budget for spring road grading and snow removal. So that is a
Okay.
special
I
assessment.
missed that one.
Yep.
I was categorizing them by
Yep.
the actual set.
And-
I apologize.
And no, what I can do, I can put together what the department is. So 101 is Township Board and so on and so forth. And then I can do by fund as well. So happy to do that and happy to put on that fund listing which ones are special assessment, which one are debt retirement funds, and which one, like you said, Fund 246, that is a fund that is considered, we have, the board in the past has put money aside for, I believe, the road project. So happy to do that. Shouldn't take me very long. Should be able to get that out to you, at least to these guys, to disperse to everyone sometime tomorrow, probably.
Okay. And when does the board have to make a final determination or a vote on passing the budget? Is that the end of March?
So I'm going to let Pam answer that because we started to look at the calendar. So
I thought it was by the end of the
your
fiscal
drop
year.
dead date is March 31st. So
Right.
the other thing is, just since I'm up here and I do have the microphone, there will be a final amendment for the current fiscal year that we're in. That's a normal process. We've done that every year that I've been here, I think even before I was here. So you'll see that one come through, and that's one where we say, hey, if Township Board is trending over, then we need to adjust it up so we're not over budget when the audit comes out. So that's just more of a housekeeping at that point, and then this one will need to be approved. And as I stated when we first started out, although this is the detail behind it, when you approve the budget is approved at a department level. So if we go down one page, when the final budget comes to you for approval, if you look midline there, so Township Board, you would approve the column 5 Township Board of that amount. So just as, although this is the detail that makes up what you actually approve, because it is on a department level.
So then you've said you don't want to spend time going through the
I did
line by
not say,
line items,
I
right?
did not say I did not
Oh,
want to
okay.
spend time. I just said,
Okay.
if I'm looking for a productive way to do this, and if it's going line by line, I think we sat down for 2 or 3 hours going line by line, so
Yeah, but
I
we
guess,
didn't, so.
yeah, I understand that, yep, so.
There's 4
And that's why I'm
hours.
saying if there's specific questions, happy to answer those, happy to do what I can. That was my only thing. I didn't say I wouldn't do it. I'm just trying to understand the process. It's just as new this year
Sure.
on how we're doing this.
Okay, yep. And for me, and I'm sorry to capitalize on the conversation, and I'll turn it over in just a moment, but if there's a more productive way that we can maintain transparency to the residents through this process, like any questions that we have, we can publish on the website from trustees, because I would rather do this in an open meeting, but I know it's very taxing on time for everybody. I think if we can be transparent that way and establish something of the responses being posted to the questions and to have that dialogue available to the public at any time, then I think that could save us some meeting time, but I also think there's value in doing it in person. So I'm not sure of what my colleagues think as far as the process is concerned.
I guess I think if there's specific questions, those should be identified and posed before the meeting so that, you know, there's time to look into that and get an answer. I say that without knowing how many questions we're talking about necessarily with specificity, but that's my piece.
And what mechanism, Zach, would you propose to do that? Proposing those questions before?
If it was me and I was going into detail, which I did look at this, you know, I looked at it and understood it as best as I could, but I confess I'll admit I'm not an accountant. But I would contact, you know, probably Pam or Jennifer and talk with them. And, you know, Casey obviously I think would be available if necessary too to step in and answer any questions. So.
Oh, so not be transparent with, in a public meeting?
That doesn't mean that it's not transparent. I mean, if we're changing it and discussing changes to it, then all that has to happen in an open meeting.
Yeah, we can't change this without.
If you're asking
Discussing
a
it.
question, you know, what one particular line item is, there's no harm in calling one of us and asking what's in that line item.
Okay, I think some of the constituents that I've talked to have asked that we do that in an open meeting because they would like to hear what those questions are. I certainly would like to hear the questions from everybody else. So if Trustee Ferguson contacts Pam and has a question, I don't know where I would get involved in understanding if that's also a question that I would have, which sort of is why having these questions in a meeting is a benefit to everybody, because then I can say, oh, look, you know, those 10 questions came from Trustee Tucker, and I don't have to ask them now because they were already answered during this open meeting. That's why I asked if there's a mechanism to keep it transparent between everybody and the public, that outside of a meeting, if there's an efficient way to do that, then I would be happy to, I think that we could all entertain that, so.
Well, I believe we tried a process, and I sent an email out to every board member requesting questions submitted to us so that we could get them to Casey so he would be able to answer them at tonight's meeting, and no questions were submitted by anybody.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm more comfortable in the open meeting asking questions. I think it's the appropriate venue for that. That's why I asked if there's an alternative that can keep transparency then.
You don't think him reading your questions right there in an open meeting is
Well,
transparent?
that's the first time someone said that he would read the questions that I
Well, he
submitted.
could.
We
Well,
said
he
we
That's
would
why we're
answer the
discussing it.
questions.
Okay.
He would be the one answering them, so.
But I believe the email said so that Casey had time to prepare and
be
he
able
would
to
answer
answer.
those questions, so.
And he tried to answer where we thought questions might happen with this comment note column. So if you gave him a list of questions, he could write notes in that column answering your questions.
There you go.
I think that's pretty transparent.
That might be transparent to me as a trustee specifically, but it's not very transparent to the public. I'm looking for, if I have a list of questions that I can submit, I would like the public to know what kind of questions I'm asking. I think that's fair, and I think the public might even agree with that. Maybe there's people in the public who really don't care, and that's fine. I mean, even resident Dietrich said he doesn't want these meetings to go on for hours and hours. So
So the only thing I would suggest, just from my other places I've been, is if that's what you're looking for, at least if you had the questions to the person that's going to be answering the questions, you can reread them and discuss that in public. But asking to research as we're sitting here, I would say that's just my recommendation. If you want,
yeah,
if you say
most of my
what's
questions aren't for you, by the way.
Right, fair enough.
The data's there. Most of my questions are is like, why did the building maintenance supplies jump or 44% increase? Why that seems to be huge as far as custodian contract. It went from 8,000 to 15,600. I'm curious, that's probably not you because you're not managing those contracts. That's why I said most of my questions are for the board members.
Sure.
As to the reasons behind those things.
Sure. Right, so a lot of that, and this is just me, so if those questions come up, I'm happy to research those and provide those, at least some backstory to that. That one I can tell you backstory, because I've been here long enough. We change vendors and that vendor's more expensive, but we're cleaning, so.
And that was board approved. It came to the board.
Not to just answer your one question, but that's the kind of information, if I had ahead of time, I'm happy to research or pull stuff or put notes on there, so.
Okay, well, we just got this last Thursday. So, trust me, that's not enough time to have one meeting and enough time to prepare. I'm sure I'll have even more
Well,
questions.
again, this is the pre-budget, and this is why we did it in January.
Yeah.
So we have time to look at
Absolutely.
it, multiple meetings.
I appreciate
So-
that greatly, more than you know.
And I will say, just from prior, this is, usually we would come with a pre saying this is what we think it's going to be and by department level, so this is the full detail. So I know it's a lot to digest. Like I said, every day, all day, I work in these numbers in these accounts, so.
Sure.
All right, so
All right, so I'll compile my questions. I would like to know that we can make them available to the public and be able to go in that route for transparency as part of the process, if that's possible. Any objection to posting questions about the budget from the trustees on the website or something like that?
I think we need to think about that.
I don't know how to
I'm
do
sorry?
that.
I can't hear you
I-
from way down here.
I said, I think we need to think about that and how we want to do this.
how we get that, how we get those
Because-
questions to them.
Yes, I mean, we can always post them in the board packet if you would prefer.
I think
Well,
that makes
That's
more
being
sense.
transparent. You want residents to see the questions you ask, so
Yeah.
let's put them in the board packet.
That's easier than the
You know,
website.
and
I think so.
as for, like you said, you had many different questions, trustee Repetta, and I'm trying to wrap my head around what would be the best process, because you said you had different people that would answer the questions, right? That have your answers that you're seeking.
As my example showed, absolutely.
Yeah.
It wouldn't just be
And-
Casey, for
Right,
example.
right. And so I'm just wondering, how can we do that in an email format where you're emailing those questions to that specific person? And
Yeah.
then they're
Well, I don't know the
seeking out
people,
answers.
that's
Well, I
the
think you
thing.
should
That's why I'm
just
trying to be
email the
transparent,
questions.
publish the list.
Somebody needs to
and
compile
then
all
who-
the
you guys
questions.
can divide and conquer, I
Okay,
mean.
well, okay, so
yeah.
you can email it to Greg and myself, and then we'll disperse it out to whomever, then we can put it in the board packet.
With the answers.
I
with
think
the
the board
answers, yeah.
packet's not frequent enough. I mean, I think this is why, we have this wonderful technology called the internet, and if we can just put the I'll be happy to even compile the questions so that it's easier, and if we can put it on something called a website that people can go to if they feel like it, that would be much better than waiting for a board packet to come out
Well, we can
in 2
send it
weeks.
as an email.
I don't understand why we're
Questions
opposed to
and
using our
answers.
technology.
You still have to type it all in.
Right.
We don't have time in my department to be doing
All right, well,
that.
honestly, I'm happy to read the questions from the first to the top of the list in the meeting too. So if that's easier, we can get started right now if you'd like to do that. I'm happy to do it while we're all here. It's not a problem.
Well, let's get your list of questions and we'll get them dispersed. And they will be public. All right, any other pre-budget discussion?
Yes, I have 4 concerns. 2 of them have to do with the, in the budget, the Historical Society plaque, if that's in the budget, and then the bricks installed for the walkway of the townhouse.
We're going to have to do an amendment, I believe. There's not enough funds left in there.
We
There's
looked
like-
at it,
Well, there's like $2,500
Right,
in there.
right.
Margaret came in today and discussed the plaque, and it's going to be a few $100s more than what is in there currently, and it will be needed before our next fiscal year begins, before April 1st.
Okay. I thought
And
she said
that's,
it won't wait till after.
But she came in today
Oh,
and
said that
later
different.
on,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's stated differently.
Okay.
And so
So we'll just have to
there'll be a-
amend what we have for
Yeah, a
this
few
year.
$100. It'll be,
Right. We do have in this current budget on page 12.
I think, are we done with Casey? He's sitting,
oh, Casey!
I don't have any
I
questions.
think we're done with Casey.
All right.
Run, Casey.
Thank you, guys.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Casey.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
I'm just sitting there like, okay.
So Herman, if you go to page 12,
Yes,
it has capital outlay,
Mm-hmm.
that 135,000 that we have budgeted.
Yeah.
It says fire well and Old Township Hall maintenance, so
We
the
have
fire
money
well,
in
we
there
had
for that.
135 in there and 5 for the Old Township Hall. So it was in there, or it is in there.
It's in there.
okay. Do we have in the budget for, we've talked about it before, an independent third-party wage study? When is that gonna happen?
A third-party what study?
An independent third-party wage study for workers, employees?
There was
Oh,
if you remember,
wage.
there was a discussion back,
In the old one.
With
Was
the old
before-
board in
yeah.
August of 2024.
but I
And
don't think there was any
no motion was ever made.
motion or anything to actually,
No, no motion
budget
was
for
made on
that.
that. I actually have it right here.
do you need a
from
motion?
the minutes.
After
It
that
was just
meeting,
agreed, and that was the old board, and no action was taken.
Okay.
Now we're a new board, and with there not being a motion,
I can make a motion.
you know,
I think the last time we looked at that in '24 with the old board, the cost of that roughly is around 20 grand. And the reason for that is because no municipality is the same. Their employee structure is different, their employee duties are different. Some municipalities may have the girl answering the phone collecting payments. Some of them have 2 or 3 cashiers. Some only have one person in planning and zoning, smaller municipalities. So they're not equal across the board, so trying to find someone that could do that wage study.
But finding
It's
a
gonna be
township, like, for example, Marion Township, that is the same with us, we could do that.
Yeah, we can look
I
at
mean,
that.
yeah,
something-
that's what we've been
We've
looking
been
at.
doing.
Yes,
Okay,
and there's, the MTA also has a salary study thing that I've been looking at. So, a wage study.
well, we have, setting wages and stuff, there's a committee that does that. I just wondered why the board didn't do that, as we have a full board. When the treasurer, the clerk, and the supervisor come up, the board decides. Why isn't that with employees also?
Because the personnel committee was created before 2006. Is as far back as we went in looking into that. And I've made a copy from our employee handbook for everyone on the personnel committee's duties that was appointed. This personnel committee was appointed
I got it.
by
I
the
got it.
board as the township personnel officer to implement and enforce all personnel-related policies within the parameters established by the township board. So why the board isn't making those decisions is the board isn't in day-to-day.
I can hear you.
Who, Jody, you couldn't hear? Oh, okay.
Pam, you mean?
No, Jennifer was
Oh.
whispering to Greg, and I couldn't hear a word she was saying.
I was whispering that I can't hear him over you guys talking.
That's not what she was saying.
Hey, stop, please, stop. Please stop. All right, Pam.
So the 3 administrative elected officials are in day-to-day with their employees and understand what their work duties are and what their assignments are. And so at some point in time, like I said, we look back to 2006, it was determined that they were better suited to deal with the day-to-day rather than the board, because the board is not here day-to-day. They don't understand everything that goes on in the departments in terms of who's doing what. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
In
deputy-
addition, in addition to that, Terry is appointed by me, she's my deputy clerk. Tammy is appointed by Jennifer. The board doesn't have a say in Terry's job and her duties, nor Tammy's job and her duties there, because they're appointed, so they're not considered the same type of employee. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I just wanted to say that Terry, the deputy clerk, and the customer service or front desk works directly for Pam. Pam takes care of her hour time card, approves her time card, approves her expenses for them. The deputy treasurer and the cashier work directly for Jennifer. She takes and approves their time cards on a weekly basis. I mean, and then
So the zoning department works under you?
works under me, and the tax assessing works under me. And I look at their time cards on a weekly basis, discuss absentees, and sick pay, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, the administration is a day-to-day thing, and I don't see where the board can, it's not a board thing. It's, the administration is done by
So any raises in their
officers.
department would be based on what? Your decision or based on other townships this size?
I believe we
Both.
look at both.
So you've
And
looked
then
at
all
other
three of
townships?
us discuss that anyway, with
As the
with
personnel
anyone.
committee, we do that to, as.
Perhaps you're
board.
missing the fact that the board actually votes for the budget that allocates the money for whatever you're doing.
Correct.
That is
So we
correct.
have an interest in
You do.
understanding that.
Yes, you do.
So
Yes,
that's,
you do.
Certainly do.
Yes, you do.
There's
I'm not-
also other things in terms of personnel administration, like medical leave acts, disability, short-term disability, all of those things I manage, and I'm not so certain any trustee would want to come into my office and want to try to calculate and look through what's going on in terms of medical records and how much time is left for them on a medical leave, things of that nature. So there's different things that each department head is doing that I'm not so sure the board could come in and do. And
All right, I'm fine with that. We'll move on with that. I'll just let it go for right now.
Well, Ed, we can certainly discuss
Okay.
it
yeah,
again.
if you want.
I mean, we are investigating where our wage structure is.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to lose any of them.
No, I don't either.
All right, so we'll move on from the pre-budget discussion, business item number 1, and move into business item number 2, the request of Oar Creek Dreams LLC for a private road and a shared private driveway.
Is the applicant here?
And I see both of them on here. I see both of them here, Harold and Scott are both here. I don't know if any of you have any questions for them.
I just wanted to tackle them, that's all. I'm allowed to?
You're not allowed.
No, but he was me.
All right.
So I was a sitting commissioner on the planning commission when they came before the commission, so I can kind of give my recap
Please do.
of
Please.
how it went down at the planning commission. The applicants were very cooperative. They attended the meeting, and they were asked actually a number of good questions. Most of them were resolved at or before the meeting, and so it was, from my perspective, relatively clean application coming in. There were 2 remaining issues. One was a question to be posed to the fire authority, the Heartland Area Fire Department, which I believe that's been resolved based on what I see in the packet. My only question would be, has the private road maintenance agreement been signed by everybody and recorded with Livingston County? And with that being the case, I believe they've satisfied all the conditions of the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Is there a reason we don't have an updated document from McKenna? Because every one of these has something where, like 3, maintenance agreement, the agreement must be revised to include a statement, blah, blah, blah. Every page on here is something that has to be done, as reading through it. Is there a reason why we don't have an updated of what's been satisfied and what's outstanding?
I can't speak for McKenna, but the Planning Commission, you know, it had documents, they're in the Planning Commission packet that were considered at the Planning Commission level. The private maintenance agreements were some of those documents. There were limited conditions that were imposed by the Planning Commission based on its review and its assessment of the status of the application at the time. If there's a question, I'm happy to take a shot at it, but.
Well, the question is that out of all of these pages from McKenna, which was provided for us to review, who don't know the process as well as you do, of course, because you were on the Planning Commission at the time, I think I was misled in believing that there was a lot of things that had to be done, because there's no document in here that says all things have been satisfied in this McKenna response from October 6, 2025, except for A and B. So I've heard that, but I'm not seeing that evidence. Those things should have been updated here in the documentation, and the final documentation, I would imagine, be presented to us so that when we're reviewing it, who don't know anything about it, would be able to follow that that's the case. I mean, where in the documentation provided is the final what needs to be done, the punch list, so to speak, of the conditions.
That would be in the recommendation to the board.
Is that in the letter from John Ward?
Yes.
I mean, when I look at that, and John, being the chairperson, is recommending approval on that. He states that in the letter, and then goes on to state a couple of other things.
Of the conditions.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's what he's recommending, but unfortunately, then there's been a whole lot of documentation provided without clarity. So if you're going to present documents within this, they should be clear and concise. And I don't question that they may have been reviewed, but this is what's giving me to prepare for this meeting. So that's all I'm asking. And I don't have the ability or the desire as a trustee to just blindly say, hey, if John said it, it's got to be good, it's got to be done. I highly appreciate that work that's been done, but I would have preferred to have it reflected in at least the work that was the documents provided.
I know the video is available, Trustee Rapetta, and the packet that the Planning Commission had before it at the meeting would be available as well. So,
but you do have an obligation to summarize for us, right, and to provide the updated documents, correct? The Planning Commission would? Or is that not a responsibility of the Planning Commission?
I think that Mr. Ward's letter is the summary.
Yeah.
Okay, so the studying of the McKenna plan between the private road review and everything else that was included in the packet, the shared private driveway, this was not to be reviewed. That's what you're saying? Because you should just read the summary, then why wasn't just the summary?
That's not at all what I said.
Oh, okay.
I said all the documents are available, the video is available. If you want to see the whole set of documents that was considered by the Planning Commission, that packet, just like our board packet, is available to the general public.
Is it these same documents that are not updated?
It is, yes. That document itself that you're referring to was included in that packet. There were more documents that were considered by the Planning Commission.
Okay, but your expectation would be that I seek all that out and it not be included in the packet here for the public to be able to review in this board meeting?
I don't have an expectation. I'm just trying to answer your question.
Okay. All right. I'm just stating that this was misleading, that these were updated, and I thought there was more work to be done. but it doesn't seem like that. Okay.
So to your knowledge, trustee Tucker, all conditions other than the two marked or the, on the page are met?
Based on the applicant's indication this evening that the private maintenance agreements were signed by the owners and recorded with the Livingston County Register of Deeds, yes.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, I make a motion, we approve it.
I'll support.
Can we have a discussion? I think we should
Jennifer,
include,
I have the full thing.
okay, include.
On your
condition.
motion to
Okay.
approve Oar Creek Dreams LLC for a private road and a shared private driveway conditional with deed restrictions that are recorded as requiring fire suppression on the 3 parcels using the shared private driveway. The parcels are 9, 10, 11. And that maintenance agreements are fully executed and recorded with the Livingston County Register of Deeds.
Yes.
That's what the motion has to be.
That's the full motion.
Sorry,
And I support that motion.
Okay, Scott, Harold,
You good with that? Okay.
So
All right.
it's a real roll call.
So,
no, yeah, roll call vote. Motion and a second?
Herman motion, right?
Yes.
Zach second, okay.
Yes.
Greg Carnes,
Yes.
Jennifer Eden,
Yes?
Herm Ferguson,
Yes.
Dean Haas is absent, Pam Offler, yes. Chris Repetta
Yes?
and Zach Tucker.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
All right. On to new business item number 3.
Before we move on to that, Greg, I get a little frustrated because the documents presented and assembled by the Planning Commission included in the packet contained information that was not accurate. And I hope in the future that we could send accurate documents, updated, finalized documents for these meetings.
All right, I'll
Thank
make a
you.
note of that for you. I agree. All right, item 3, medical marijuana caregiver ordinance amendment. We got back from the county planning commission he marked up our ordinance, and they marked it up quite a bit. We're going to need to, I believe we're going to need to recommend that it go back to the planning commission, and they have the law firm they're working with, I'm drawing a blank, Swift.
Laura.
Laura from Foster Swift. They get back with her, and, because she's the one that really helped them draft that, and then they can,
I thought this was drafted by McKenna. I think Foster Swift checked it, but reviewed the work that was drafted by McKenna. But I could be wrong.
that's,
I was at many of those meetings, so that's just
Yeah.
something that popped into my head. But the county disapproved of the plan.
well, they
right?
didn't really disapprove it, they just had a lot of,
It says disapproval, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the county document, I apologize. They voted to not approve this, but it's not a statutory that, we have to accept that, of course,
right.
but
So my take on this, and I agree with you, Mr. Chairperson, I think it makes sense to have the attorney look at it with these specific items that were identified by the county's review
Yes.
in mind. I personally felt that the ordinance itself, the points where it's aggressive, I guess I personally don't necessarily view that as a bad thing. So certainly worth considering the county's comments, but there are areas where, I think a strong ordinance is favorable to the township, irrespective of the fact that there might be some possible challenges.
If you're saying you don't agree with the county on a lot of these things, I agree with you. So, again, I would recommend we actually look at both items 3 and 4 and have them go back to the planning commission and have them get with Laura. I need a motion for that.
I make a motion.
I'll support.
Are we gonna do a roll call?
Are you doing it for 3 and 4, or we're doing it separate?
Are you doing it
Because
for
you just
3
said
and
for
4?
All right,
and
well,
four.
let's do them separate. You got them separate here
Okay.
on the vote. Let's do it for 3.
Okay.
Um,
No roll call.
Nope, just yea or nay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and then look for a motion to take item 4 and have that go back to the planning commission and have Laura look at it with them.
Make a motion on that.
Support. Before we vote, just to note that the county doesn't look like they provided an opinion on the licensing, the regulatory ordinance. So it would just be, do you want to have any discussion, or are we prepared to have any discussion on the regulatory ordinance before we send it for attorney? Because we don't have to send that back to the planning commission to have them, we could, but this being regulatory means it belongs to the board.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other one was a zoning ordinance.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, we can certainly discuss that now or delay that discussion or postpone it till next meeting. I have no problem with that.
I don't personally think we would need to do that. I mean, I think it makes sense to get it back in front of Laura. They're not identical, but there is a lot of
Yes.
overlap. So,
Okay.
the comments are, I think, well taken for both ordinances, so.
Okay.
They are related, maybe not, as you say, not.
Well, definitely related, just different areas of responsibility,
right.
so that's all.
Right.
Which is fine. And I was going to suggest that as a board, we could also just make a motion and pass it, that we could engage Foster Swift directly here at the board level, but I don't have any issues with them handling that through the planning commission as they've done up to this point. But at some point, we have to have a hard review as the board of this regulatory license document, and then discuss it and hopefully move it forward or not, so.
Who made the motion to send
I
it
did.
back?
And Zach.
I seconded.
Zach.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 5, request of clerk to attend the MAMC Institute.
Do you want to share a little bit with us, Pam, on that?
I certainly can.
Oh, thank you.
Some of you may recall that I began Institute last year. It's a 3-year training program, and so I completed year 1, 40 hours. This is training for year 2 to complete that, and yeah.
What will the knowledge you gain from this? The
What
wisdom
knowledge?
and
Oh,
wisdom?
everything for clerks.
Uh-huh.
The state comes in and you receive a lot of training on elections. So that's huge for me this year because we have 3 elections this year. So I want to make sure I'm up to date on laws, policy, any changes.
All right.
What would the 3 elections be? I know there's one in the fall for, is that a primary? and a-
I think we're having a special election in May, and then we have an August and a November.
The May one.
August primary and then
May.
general.
The
Yeah, I
May is
know.
Linden? Is that Linden's?
We're not saying,
Oh,
You said, but
Okay,
there's a potential for a school election
Yeah.
in May,
maybe.
but
Well,
not official yet.
if we don't have any other questions, does anybody else? I make a recommendation that we send Pam off for wisdom.
I second it. I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, there you go, Pam. You're off to school.
All right.
All right, item number 6, appointment of the ex officio to the planning commission. I think this is a no-brainer. Well, Zach has agreed to act as the ex officio to the planning commission from this board, and based on his first presentation on the Oar Creek, I think he'll be a fine ex officio.
Thank you.
So
I'll
that's
make a
my
motion.
Anything else you'd
recommendation.
like to say to the board?
I really have, I've said this to a few people, I have enjoyed working on the planning commission, I really have. It's fun to get my hands dirty, and I'm happy to do it, so.
I'll make a motion to appoint Zach Tucker as ex officio to the planning commission.
I will
I'll second.
second. You take it. She got it. It was her.
Don't fight.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
All right, Zach, you are the ex officio. All right, item 7, health insurance.
Chris said no?
I did.
Yes. Health insurance, item 7, health insurance renewal policy for the employees.
So this is just a renewal of the same package we had, right, Pam?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, same insurance.
Same coverage, same deductible.
Yep,
How much was the premium increase on that?
$24,430.80.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everything's going
it was
up.
ouch.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, insurance has
Yeah.
risen
It's been
for
terrible.
everyone. And we don't really, there aren't any options out there. Our insurance carrier finds the lowest rate, so we're not getting better than this. But I also think it's important to mention the health insurance and the AFLAC. Those are the only benefits that we, as a township, provide to our employees. We
Is
do not
disability and medical.
Yes, short-term disability we provide with the AFLAC, as well as the health insurance with Blue Cross. We don't provide any retirement, pensions, nothing like that. So this is their benefit.
No cars.
No.
Oh, just checking.
What's the embedded co-insurance maximum? That seems to be the line that's driving up the cost.
Would be nice if David Walker was here, he could explain that.
I didn't hear what he said.
Oh,
He said that.
It was a question?
Yeah,
What is the embedded co-insurance maximum, which has the $2,000 increase? That's what's driving up the cost this year. What is that?
Dad, I don't.
I don't see where,
It's on this
Where you
page.
at?
It's the third,
okay, that,
this one.
Yep.
See where it compares this year's to next year's potentially?
I'm not sure, but is it the annual max on the benefit summary description of $1,000? Take that for what it's worth, because I'm not sure, but.
Well, I'd rather be sure, so thank you, though. Just for the record as well, I'm surprised to see this plan coverage, because last year when we voted on this, this was the option that did not have expanded abortion included, an elective abortion. So I'm surprised to see that in this year's package, because last year's package, I chose and specifically spoke out against my support for including elective abortions in any medical plan that we might have. And I'd also like to consider having the township employees look at changing the 100% coverage to a 75-25 coverage, which would be more in line with most of the world, where there's a contribution from the employee for their medical coverage, and that would then allow them to be a contributor and lower our overall costs as these costs will continue to rise. We got to start looking at our costs more in line with not just accepting the fact that we have $7.9 million in the bank of unallocated money, and we can just keep rising and raising more taxes, but we need to start looking at the budgeting process and everything else smarter and start making very, very important decisions about how we fund all of these things. That would be my recommendation.
Well, I look at, there's no retirement, so you've got to give them something if you want to retain them. I think we got great employees here, if you want to look into that. But with no retirement and making them pay 25%, what do you think on that, Jennifer?
Could be a different percentage, but I'm also including the fact that they work 32 hours a week. Plus, there's a ton of overtime in the budget that I have a lot of questions about. By each department has a large amount of overtime. And I thought overtime was based on a 40-hour week, not a 32-hour week. So I need to ask a lot of those questions from the budget perspective, but this would all be looking at the holistic employee benefits package so that we can understand what it is, not just looking at one individual thing. That disclosure could benefit us greatly.
To answer your question, Trustee Herman, I don't agree, I'm with you, I don't agree with having the associates pay or ask for it. If we wanted to do that, then I would say that we need to give some kind of retirement benefit in place of. If you take benefits away somewhere, you should give something.
That's not a law that's anywhere found in any
It's not a
government.
Make sure
law,
you tuck in your
but
mic,
it's
they can't hear you.
good practice, right?
No,
If you wanna
not
retain your
fiduciary
employers.
practice. It is absolutely not good. This is why I think I agreed with Herman about looking at the holistic environment of salary and benefits. You know, as a manager for over 20 years, I've never looked at wages alone. I've never looked at all of them in isolation, but the entire benefits package that somebody gets. And that would include all of these things, not just, hey, let's look at this. You know, I'd much rather have some disclosure on the entire setup, and that's what I'm looking forward to diving into on the budget process. Because I think we have lots of overtime, and if we have lots of overtime, maybe some positions are right for salary positions instead, or blah, blah, blah. There's lots of ideas. But in this instance, because we're talking about health and benefits, that's why I was wanting to discuss possibly looking at a split. Could be 80-20. You know, I'm not saying it has to be 75-25, but.
I'm not in favor of asking the employees to pay for their insurance.
I'm not either.
No, what about you?
It's effectively a reduction in salary and compensation. So
Exactly.
you make a change there, you have to make a change somewhere else.
Right, I agree.
I know nobody in the world
All right.
goes through reductions in
So I make
salaries
a
or
motion that we
benefits.
accept this.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nope.
All right, the motion carries. Okay, public remarks. Do I have anybody?
Speaking of the budget, I noticed, Greg, that you get $1,000 a year for training, and you only used $150 last year. And my comments kind of play into that, how maybe you should have training so that you can just moderate the meeting without being interrupted by other board members. In Michigan, township treasurers and clerks should generally avoid interrupting or whispering to the supervisor during board meetings, as such behavior can be seen as disrupting the orderly conduct of a public meeting. While they are elected officials and part of the township board, the supervisor is responsible for presiding over and regulating the meeting. Township board members, including clerks and treasurers, are expected to adhere to meeting rules that prohibit interrupting side conversations or other disruptive behavior. The supervisor acts as the moderator and has the authority to run the meeting, maintain order, and decide questions of order. While collaboration is necessary, constant whispering or interrupting can make it difficult for the public and other board members to hear, potentially violating the spirit of the Open Meetings Act. If a clerk or treasurer needs to share information, it's best to do so during their designated report time through recognized speaking terms or by briefly, quietly signaling the supervisor rather than engaging in whispered conversations. Specific guidance for virtual meetings advises against carrying on side conversations or texting, emailing other board members while in the meeting. While close communication between the clerk, treasurer, and supervisor is essential to running a township, it should be managed to not disturb the meeting. Disruptive whispers or interrupting behaviors are unprofessional and in many cases violate established meeting procedures. And for the last year, I've watched the treasurer and the clerk continually whisper to Greg, answer his questions. Many times he's already in the middle of answering a question and he gets cut off. I've heard him say, I know. Many of these things he does know and he can answer. He's a grown man, completely capable of speaking on his own. And if he doesn't have an answer, he can find it and get back to the person or the board member. You should use your microphones when you speak, all of you.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm sitting here and you guys voted and turned down on the advice of our township attorney, non-disclosure agreements. The problem with turning that down is it's just creating another hurdle for residents to have to jump through. Anybody in this township who's ever filed a FOIA request already knows the hurdles that are thrown in front of us. Instead of the attorney maybe suggesting that those state statutory things that he felt would be a hindrance to having the non-disclosure agreement, why couldn't we pass the agreement and put those exemptions in there? Not to include those, instead of just blanketly going ahead and turning around and voting the whole thing down. My second thing is we're going to be talking about board goals. And something I would really, really love to see is everybody on this board play by the same rules that all the residents have to play by. We want to talk about disclosures and we want to prohibit them. It's the reason people distrust our government. Just like our local government, we have different rules for different people. We have a board member that runs a tree service business out of his home. Everybody on here knows who that individual is. Has that individual applied for a zoning variance for his particular property? No, he hasn't. The issue was brought up in February of 2024. there was a complaint made. It was done anonymously, so nothing was done about it. The person's running a business out of his home, claims to others that it's just for storage of his vehicles, which both would need zoning approval and need a special land use permit. Also on the site, there are prohibited shipping containers. So are we all playing by the same rules? Or do we have different expectations for the residents than we do for the board members? You guys are supposed to be a step above us, and I don't see it. Lead by example. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because I have filed formal complaints, and I'll be the first to say it here in person, because I don't have a problem addressing the issue. But you know what? We had another business right up the road that these people sitting up here have all put through the ringer and caused a severe amount of financial hardship on. So if we're going to play by the rules, everybody plays by the rules. And if you don't, then I guess we go down whatever necessary avenues we have to, by whatever legal means are necessary.
Anybody else? Yes.
One of the two gentlemen left their phone, so whoever wants to.
Give it to Terry, please, and we'll save it for them. I'm sure they'll be back as soon as they get home.
Yeah.
Jeanette Ropetta, Tyrone Township resident. I've waited a long time to speak directly about my court case from this past summer, where this township charged me with disorderly conduct. And because it's still being discussed online by township officials and employees, even some on this board, I find it necessary to address it here. I had really hoped this township would have done the right thing after I won the case. I wish you had admitted what you did was wrong, figured out how to train your personnel on existing policies you already have, and I wish you had held those who violated the laws responsible. But instead, residents have sent me screenshots where township officials and employees are still discussing my legal case online and spreading misinformation. And I think the whole community needs to know that you are engaging in this. Also, a lot of residents read that Tri-County newspaper article that quoted both the supervisor and the township lawyer. Both were quoted making false statements about my case. And interestingly, the township lawyer wasn't even in the courtroom, but he made statements that were false. Not only bad reporting, but outright lies. The Freedom of Information Act, what is it actually for? FOIA. It exists for transparency so residents can see how their government operates. It's not a courtesy that we are granted, and it's not something officials get to retaliate over just because they don't like the questions or the people who ask them. When a resident submits a FOIA request, the law is clear. Records can't be destroyed or hidden. Residents can't be met with intimidation or punishment. But guess what happened here? Records that were tied to an open matter were destroyed. My name was publicly disparaged, and officials and township employees continue to tell not only the media, but spread lies online that my case was dismissed on a technicality, and that is false. So no, the township did nothing to remedy this. And yet, yes, now the township is being sued, and accountability is being pursued through the courts. These are the mechanisms that exist when you fail to follow the law. So I hope the township officials, the township employees, and even the township snitch and his little baby snitches can get the story straight for once. I was falsely accused and found innocent in a court of law. The newspaper reported that my case was dismissed by a technicality, and that was false. The judge ruled that I was not responsible for the allegations made against me and dismissed it. Would you guys all like the judge to know that the township is spreading rumors, saying that things that judge did not say in the courtroom? Would you like that? Would you like Judge Bain to know that you're promoting that misinformation about his courtroom? So anyone continuing to say otherwise, that I was let off on a technicality, is lying.
Anybody else?
Sorry, I forgot to hand these out, if you can pass them along. This is the judgment by the judge.
And that was so true that the judge said he didn't want to see her in court ever again.
Doesn't want to see anybody in court.
No, that's true. The constant interruptions. Didn't you say stop? She never stopped through the whole meeting, Greg. Are you going to pay attention? You're going to be a supervisor? No, you'll tell me to have respect. For him to sit there and attack you guys and disrespect you on what your decisions were, get ready. He knows how to govern. More lawsuits. This is how he doesn't like how you guys decided, so he's going to have some more lawsuits. Did you hear all of his comments up there tonight? She won't ever stop. She says rules for everybody else but her. Okay, who's the one that's the worst abuser of this damn township? Her. Who's the one that makes false police reports? Who's the one that makes false allegations? Who's the one that did all the attack? Who brought all this on? Her. Chris, did you not make a report over there at Bare Naked Woods and shut a meeting down? And that's where the term nothing burger came. It happened over and over again. The cops kept referring to you as the nothing burger. And you know, our poor prosecutor that should be run out of our township never held you accountable. A person in our township that has a page, they went in and opened his page up, got a search warrant. What do they do to you, Chris? Nothing. Nothing. False police report. Where is he, Chris? Who's the man that was going to come to this meeting and abuse everybody? Chris? Who was it? Tell him. Who was it? Finally, tell him who it was. You're the one who opened your hole.
Be respectful.
No, I'm not yelling, I'm mad. I have a right to raise my voice. I'm a loud person. Okay, but I want an answer. Where was that person? Where is he, Greg? Why didn't the prosecutor handle you? She can be a hypocrite all she wants. Most of the stuff has been brought on by her. And lawsuit after lawsuit, we told these people in this township, you will stop, never stop suing this township. Because that's the type of person you are. And if you lose, oh well, just open up another damn loan at the bank, maybe pay your damn bills, and let us deal with all the other court lawyer fees we have to pay, okay? The budget, you better budget for lawsuits. And have a line item on that damn budget that we just had, how much money we wasted we could have put towards the roads. I'll tell you right now, this damn township has get audited by the state. And it's passed all the audits. Everything's posted up there. I've called Jennifer, and she's answered every damn question I've ever asked of her. You can get the answers. To sit there and try to explain every darn line in here at the meeting, we will never be able to do it. I'm sorry, but it's all posted. It can be all answered here in the office. And I know that part can be. I will.
Anybody else? All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I support.
No.
We got miscellaneous business.
Miscellaneous business.
Whoops, sorry.
No,
False alarm. Sorry.
I'd like to share this out of my MTA manual with the board. Public comment. The public has a right to address a meeting of a public body under rules established and recorded by the public body. MCL 15.263. The public must have at least one opportunity to speak publicly at the open meeting. And this has come to be known as public comment period. Only one public comment period is required by law. I have been approached by a few board members to remove one of the public remarks. I would like all of you board members to consider this, and if it's something you want on the new business, we will put it there for discussion on the next meeting. Now I will entertain a,
I guess we'll wait and discuss it, but I think leave both comments. What I suggest is this. Since the sheriff won't remove on people that disrupt the meeting, that what we do is we recess, and then we reconvene, and if they continue, then we adjourn the meeting. Instead of taking away both public comments, that's it. Since that's the only way we're going to do this, we have a code of conduct, and people are constantly violating it, that we have a recess. And if that is done,
well, part of the reason that I think board members have approached me to have only one is it is the same individuals with the same comments at each comment. So whether it's 3 minutes or 6 minutes,
Do you have any evidence of that? I hear different comments, I take notes.
yeah, there's some.
So that's not, a generalization like that's not true.
Well, look at the board meetings, watch the meetings.
Chuck, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, God.
I'm just a lawyer.
Yeah, what do you know? What do you know?
I think that when the comments become abusive, and there are members of the public that think that they're going to use the maximum time to abuse you people up there on the board, I think it's appropriate to consider one of two things: reducing the number of calls to the public to one, or as you suggested, to recess or adjourn. And it's all because of the abusive comments. That's what it's about.
Define abusive.
Yeah, tell us what
Hey, hey, hey. All right, like I said, hey. Like I said, I want you to consider it. I'm not saying we're doing it.
I think you should.
I think you should shut up.
I'll make a motion. I'll make
All
a
right.
motion to adjourn.
I'll support it.
All right, adjourn.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Nay.
Meeting adjourned.
Who seconded that? Me or?
I
Zach.
seconded.
Zach did.
Oh, Zach did, okay.
But Jennifer's comments are abusive, right? Or Herman's?
No, I tell her to shut up too.
They usually listen.
Pardon me?
This one, so I'm going to need him to eat after.
What did I do?
Well, looks like
Hey, what was my time?
lighting up here.
Don't tell them, don't tell them.
Here's where it is. Like Aaron.
I was a little high. See you later.
You better believe it. I'm a dude.
You live in a barn, put your chair in. Gave us good insight.
I'll try and read that.